Okay, so we have another vocab word for you, something called a biconditional statement. So a biconditional is the combination of a conditional, if P then Q, and its converse, if Q then P. The resulting compound statement, you can see that this P and Q, now the arrow points both ways, is read as if and only P, if and only if Q. So we don't start and say if P then Q, we say P if and only if Q. So that is the biconditional right there. That's the resulting statement. Maybe we'll do a little just outline of that. Is P if and only if Q. So let's look at truth values for your biconditional statement. So if your hypothesis and conclusion are true, the biconditional will be true. So basically, if they have the same truth value, the biconditional is true. Down here, they have the same truth value. They're both false, so the biconditional is true. When they have different truth values, so if one is true and one is false, one is false, one is true, and I'm talking the hypothesis and the conclusion, then the biconditional will be false. So let's make sense of this with an example. And I don't think that you guys have a ton of space in your note packet. So write small, you might have to draw an arrow up above. That's what I was noticing when I was writing this out on the paper. I have a little bit more room on my iPad because I can just scroll this up. But just beware, write small. This takes up more space than what I provided. So I will apologize in advance. Okay, so we have a marine biologist writes this conditional. If a seahorse gives birth, then it is male. So that is a conditional. We have a hypothesis and we have a conclusion. Since it is true that among seahorses, only the males can become pregnant and give birth, should the marine biologist state this as a biconditional in a paper she is writing? So I can't remember if I knew this or not. Did you guys know that male seahorses give birth? I feel like that was new information for me and I was kind of surprised by that. So what we're going to do is we're going to start by identifying the hypothesis and conclusion of the conditional statement they gave us. So here's your if then. Hypothesis is the if. So that's our P. If a seahorse gives birth. So hypothesis, a seahorse gives birth. The conclusion, then it is male. So the conclusion is that the seahorse is male, or a seahorse is male. So the biconditional statement would be P if and only if Q. So let's write that out in words. The biconditional statement would be a seahorse gives birth. So there's our P. If and only if it is male. What's the truth value of this statement? Should she include this in her writing, her research paper, or whatever it is she's doing? She's writing a paper. All right. So let's think about this. So what we want to do is look at two conditional statements. If P, then Q, and then if Q, then P. If these are both true statements, if they have the same truth value, then the biconditional will be true. So if P, then Q is what we started out. If a seahorse gives birth, then it is male. Is this true? So because only males can give birth, if a seahorse gives birth, that does mean that it's male. So that is a true statement right there. But let's look at the converse of that. If we reverse it, so if a seahorse is male, then it gives birth. Is this true or false? Well, this is saying if a seahorse is male, so we find a male seahorse, then it gives birth. Well, only male seahorses that have mated will actually give birth. So not every single male seahorse is giving birth. So the converse is false. And because we have different truth values here, that means that the biconditional will be false. The biconditional is true if the two statements have the same truth values, but the biconditional is false in this case. So she should not include it in her paper. So don't put in the paper.